Welcome to the Barter Edge podcast, your insider guide to smarter business, bigger networks, and better ways to trade. We're here to share real stories, expert tips from different industries, and fresh ideas to help you grow your business using the power of Bartercard. We are talking to a Bartercard rock star that we love in our team. We are here with one of New South Wales account managers, Victoria, and she's a master connector within our network. So, Victoria, let's start by introducing yourself and share a little bit of your journey with Bartercard.
Yeah, look, I've been around a long time, 14 years in the trading seat, on and off. So had lots of different roles in that period. I first came across Bartercard maybe 25 years ago. I was in the fitness industry and dance schools. And as I sort of progressed through the years and bought and sold businesses, always had a Bartercard membership. So I kind of understood it quite well. And then came to work with the team when I was in between jobs. I thought I was coming for a very short period of time, and 14 years later, I'm still here.
Well, we love having you a part of our team and having you with so much experience as well within being a client first and experiencing what can happen with being a business, being involved with Bartercard. Now, Sydney is quite a diverse market. What kind of businesses are you currently seeing really thrive in Bartercard?
Look, I don't think there's any particular industry. I think it really comes down to the business owner. So someone who kind of thinks outside the squares, quite a creative person, someone who's got an open mind for suggestions and I guess crazy ideas that can come off the back of things, because sometimes we don't always see, or they can't see, a correlation between certain, and they may not have thought of those ideas before in the past. I've worked for Bartercard Sydney most of my career as a trading manager, so in the trading loop. But then I also, for a very long period of time, was a hospitality and tourism development manager. So traveling overseas to the South Pacific, signing up Bartercard accounts. And then clearly it wasn't a face-to-face ongoing relationship because obviously the distance. So it can be done regardless of where you are. Certainly we can make any account work. It comes down to that sort of style of client who is a little bit different, I guess, and creative.
Yeah, and always looking for opportunities as well, because if we do the same things that all of our competitors are doing, it's really hard to stand out, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think, if you've got a Bartercard account and you've got to that, I guess that difference, it really differentiates you and puts you in a different position, and it allows you to be more competitive. So you've definitely got an edge over your competitors. You've got more access to materials, resources, just opportunities in general.
Yeah. Now, coming from a background of dance classes and gyms and all of that sort of thing, it completely makes sense to open up to Bartercard because with your gym classes and things like that, you're running them and paying the staff and your doors are open and the
Mhm.
lights are on and the
Yeah.
music's pumping, and it doesn't matter how many people are actually in the class or in the gym at the time. It's your fixed costs are going to stay the same, aren't they?
Yeah,
So what would
exactly.
you,
Yeah, exactly. So someone who has a hire company, or or in that situation, like a gym or a fitness center, regardless of whether you've got one person in that gym or whether you've got 100 on the gym, it's going to be the same cost to run it. So obviously then bringing in that extra business with Bartercard, it can create the opportunity for a business in that situation then to potentially utilize those trade dollars as their marketing budget. So yeah, it's a great alternate, and a different style of client. Yeah, for sure.
and it definitely does make you more attractive to other Bartercard members being offering Bartercard rather than just cash
Oh yeah, for
for
sure.
more those leisure, and it's like for lifestyle as well as for business expenses. So if you were talking to a lifestyle business, what would you recommend to them?
Look, I think for anyone in general, as a business owner. Life, being able to spend lifestyle wise, my kids had like some of the most incredible birthday parties. I mean, they had ponies at their parties, they had pop-up pizza trucks that rocked up. My daughter at a 16th had a limousine, big giant stretch limousine that threw them all in there, and they went to, a waterfront restaurant, and everyone was sort of going, how the hell does she afford to do these really lavish, crazy birthday parties? But that was really where I love to kind of, I guess, spend some of my trade, and doing that for clients, being able to take clients that I had and have like great parties and create more relationships and utilize my trade dollars that way. So yeah, it definitely can enhance your personal life. For travel's like amazing, to be able to go and stay in a resort. It just means that you've got more cash than to spend when you're at the resort, so therefore able to buy more cocktails, at the bar and treat yourself.
Victoria, I love the way you're thinking. And if you think about it, like you would have paid for some of those birthday parties and things like that just for having some extra people in your
Yeah,
classes. Is that
in a
right?
nutshell, that's it. Yeah, absolutely, in a nutshell, 100%.
Amazing. So, in your role as an account manager, how do you support new and existing members?
Look, pretty much the same. It doesn't matter whether I get a new client on board or whether I'm picking up an account that might be sort of, need refreshing. It's the same kind of principles. So, whilst it's not always possible to walk into someone's business, a lot can still be established over calls, building relationships, and Zooms. After COVID, we know how well Zooms work. To understand a person's business is probably the most important part of the whole process. So whether it's stalking them on social media, trawling through, like their websites, and then understanding what their products are, and then obviously going into a deep dive with that client. So they might have a bunch or range of services. Some they can offer on Bartercard, some that they may not be able to, because they might have to pull in, a third party to have those things available, within their business. So we kind of work out what they can and can't do on Bartercard. Once we understand and establish what it is that they do, it's then wanting to know what have they wanted to do within their business that they haven't been able to. And that's where the really exciting stuff happens. Sometimes people go into business and they're in the bump and grind every day and they forget what it was that they originally set out to do. And they've got expenses and they just don't get round to it. So sometimes we might talk to a client and they might have wanted to do radio advertising or, amazing campaigns, print media. And there's something that are readily available on Bartercard and quite easy to access. And so to be able to go back through that and sort of work out what they want to do, what they haven't done or haven't accomplished within their business, and how can we potentially do that on Bartercard. So there's a couple ways that we'll do that. Obviously, one would be trying to recreate a mark or create a marketing budget and see what we can find within that. And if we don't have those items, going through what's called an expense analysis. So going through someone sitting, maybe looking at their P&Ls, not from too much from a dollar value, but what are they spending currently in the cash market that we might be able to replace by using some of their trade dollars and moving those over onto a trade purchase point. What that does is it creates a lot more cash flow within the business. So if we don't have something available on Bartercard, we can basically take those expenses, create them into cash expenses, give us more cash to play with so they can then spend that on other things that we may not have. So yeah, it's really just understanding the whole lot of the business.
Yeah, I had a fairly new business and it was two people who went out on their own, and one, the admin person, was pretty much doing all of the marketing, didn't have a marketing background. They had it in their 2-year goals to be able to put a considerable budget towards SEO, and it's a service-based business as well, and they loved the idea of being able to utilize some of their spare hours in the day servicing Bartercard customers as a way to reduce the amount of hats for their admin and be able to get to their goals faster, like using their spare capacity for things like SEO, which was not on the plan for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think that coming from a background in being a business owner as well, Victoria, is a real value add for all of your clients that you help, but also the whole Bartercard team, because you know what it's like. You've had that juggle. You've probably had those sleepless nights that most business owners
Definitely.
have. And when you're looking at a business, you're looking at it from a business owner perspective as well. So it is amazing to be able to have that and to look at not only where are they spending, where can they be spending, but opening up more opportunities for them to think differently about the way that they do difference, the way they do doing business.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, there may sometimes there's not necessarily that correlation when you might come across, like, say, for example, you might come across an item that's for sale, and you might call a client and sort of say to them, look, I know you're not looking at increasing your SKUs or your product range, but have you thought about potentially buying these? What you could possibly do with them is, put a marketing campaign together to your, pre-existing cash customers. If they actually spend more this month, so increasing the profits, what their average spend is with their customer, you might give them a box of this complimentary. And so creating those concepts and those ideas is then able to for them to be able to increase their cash revenue within their business. So there's lots of creative things that can happen. We are different. Bartercard trader is a different, unique style of person, definitely.
Absolutely. Now, through your experience, I'm sure you've got thousands of stories of amazing trades and things that have happened.
Yeah.
What would be a standout success story that you've had with a client?
Oh, look, there's so many over the years, 14 years of crazy. Look, one of the feel good ones, possibly a florist that we had in Sydney. They were looking at sort of, creating some nice gift hampers for Mother's Day. Obviously, freight's always, a really big thing with weight and things like that. And sort of we sourced, all the nice stuff like the tea towels and the lavender scent bags and all those sorts of things, but I was still missing a few things. And I went to them and I said, look, have you thought about potentially doing a charity donation? And she looked at me like I was completely insane. And I said, look, you could potentially do, let's say you do a 10K charity donation. First of all, you're going to have the benefits of having done that charity donation. Talk to your accountant, see where that works in, with your P&Ls and what the benefits would be. But then we could potentially carve that charity donation up, which is exactly what we did. So we went out and found a Bartercard printer who could print some, postcard size gift certificates, and they were like basically a to and a from. They were in $50 denominations, and they basically said a charity donation of $50 has been made to this cancer institute on behalf of you. Happy Mother's Day. And so that was obviously put into the boxes. So it just meant all the mums that were out there, sometimes we've got so much stuff. How much stuff do we really, really need? It's really beautiful to be able to give a gift like that. So, I mean, the florist was, stoked. They sold 250 hampers, and they were able to do a complete what's called cash conversion. So buying something on Bartercard, then potentially reselling it, back out into the cash economy. So things like that are very cool. I have a, big background with the company in the hospitality and tourism sector. Absolutely passionate about hospitality. And so it's very similar. Mother's Day, wanted to find some gifts to put on the table, let that flow through to their social media. So give them an edge on their competitors. Abel went out, got some pallets of wine delivered to the restaurant, and got some gift vouchers for a local business. Now, it sounded really strange getting some vouchers to a nursery because, like they're kind of going, what is this got to do with Mother's Day plants? And ultimately, they bought $10,000 of credit from the local nursery. What they were able to do was, again, carve it up, get those gift vouchers printed, put a nice hole punch in there, tied it to a bottle of wine. And every mum that, had that degustation meal, and you can imagine what a degustation meal is worth on a waterfront property, or restaurant. It was really beautiful. I mean, it looked elegant. It looked absolutely gorgeous. It was a quality gift. And it just meant that they were able to, get more seats filled, because everybody kind of wanted this really cool gift that was, you know, thrown through, shown through social media, and it was amazing. So there's just so many stories over the years, running competitions for staff. I mean, one of our biggest restaurants, 300 seater, they have a big whiteboard. They would find gifts and prizes for not only the staff but patrons, so clients that were coming in. I mean, one of the coolest ones was, before COVID, Vivid. We all know what Vivid is. They got a push bike that they bought, a $3,000 push bike they bought on Bartercard, with a nice basket full of extra things. And basically the messaging was, if you come in and you eat and you have an entree, or for every entree that you buy or every dessert that you buy, you go into the draw to win, this amazing prize. And it was front and center right at the bar. In the back end of house, they had another board running, which was for staff members, wait staff. And those wait staff, every time they upsold, a meal, and they had an entree or a dessert, they would go on the board with a point score. And at the end of the month, they would win a prize. Now, their prizes were everything from domestic travel through to another push bike and some other smaller ones in between. They saw a big shift because it was winter. Their revenue was down. And by doing that, they increased their revenue by 20%. So, I mean, that was all Bartercard sort of crazy sort of trading in the back end, doing that with them. So, yeah, so many stories, so many stories. But I'm sure there'll be so many more stories to come over the years.
I love all those stories. First of all, that would make any kid look like the best kid ever, getting going to a beautiful restaurant and then the mum getting a bottle of wine and a voucher. And like, there's so many cool things that people can
Yeah,
do, but it's a different mindset, isn't it? And
totally.
having someone, when you're really, really close in your business, you often have your blinkers on to what you think
Yeah,
is going to work, and you need that person in your corner to open up your eyes to new opportunities, new ways of doing things, new ways of making your business look unique
yeah,
and desirable to cash paying customers. And you've just given us three phenomenal examples of how you've been able to do that. And this is why we wanted to have you on as well, to really share some of your experience, to open up people's mind to the way they could be utilizing Bartercard. Now, we are looking for more restaurants and hospitality to come on board with Bartercard. Why does it work so well for the hospitality and tourism industry?
with hospitality, no one wants to walk past an empty restaurant. And that's the bottom line. If you're licensed, that's great. There's always wineries and things like that we can try and get access to. But there's also other opportunities outside that, from in terms of marketing, which is readily available. So there's just so many more opportunities, a lot more, as you can imagine. With that restaurant, they had a bigger edge over their competitor. They had access to, a stronger team and more resources. And so why wouldn't you? In terms of tourism, in my experience, at the end of the day, and there's a saying that we use internally, when they turn the switch off at night, if there is someone sleeping in that bed, or there is or there isn't, it's going to cost that restaurant, or that hotel, the same amount of money. So why would you not want to have someone sleeping in that bed? It doesn't cost you very much to turn that room over. It's another example of why, tourism and Bartercard relationships are so strong, because there's just so much more that access that they've got to getting those customers there, really ultimately than
Yeah,
spending it.
absolutely. Now, you work closely with business owners every day. What is something that stands out from a mindset perspective, or what makes a really successful Barter Card member?
Startups are always super attractive. I mean, they don't have access, they, I guess, to finances. We've got everything from lines of credit right through to increased lines of credit. If you are starting on a project, even if you are a pre-existing member and you want to buy a property through Bartercard and you're not quite there, rather than sit and watch that opportunity disappear, we can look at increasing lines of credit if you have the ability to be able to trade it back. So that's not a drama. Um, Someone who is thinking outside the square, someone who is creative, even someone who maybe has lost their spark for their business, it might be a good time to, try something new. Like I said, it's for the creative. It's for a creative person. And if you're not creative, then it's time to meet some creative traders ultimately to do some, I guess, inspiring hand holding and yeah, come along the journey with the crazy Bartercard family.
Because nothing changes if nothing changes, does it?
True.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't change it, then there will be no change. So you 100%.
I was speaking I was speaking with a business owner a little while ago and I asked them, when was the last time you tried something new in your business? And they'd been doing the same thing day in, day out, and business was rapidly declining.
Yeah.
And isn't it time to look at new opportunities? Isn't it time to have that outsider perspective like yourself and our other amazing account managers to take fresh eyes and look at your business and look for those opportunities? And, I had someone say about the success fees on the transactions. And when you think about it, you have someone working for you to
Yeah.
help you look outside the
Yeah,
box.
true.
Like if I was paying a consultant to do what you've been doing for businesses, it's going to be a hell of a lot more than 6.5%
Yeah,
or
it's true. It's true.
5.5%.
Look, when you look at what sort of Amex is charging and MasterCard, not that we're not even remotely like them, but they got a transaction fee just for transacting. Ultimately, with your transaction comes, a team of staff. We're now led by the amazing Andrew Fedorovsky, who's finally, come back home. We've got Nicole Whelan, who's been another amazing trader in Melbourne, who, she was with us for more than 20 years. She's returned home after 5 years. And so you've got access to these amazing people who have just so much experience, business experience, and experience within the network. So yeah, your transaction fee is not just a transaction fee. Some people get business coaches, some people will do other things within their businesses. It's just a whole bunch of, resources that you've got for barter cards with barter cards. So if you want to, I guess, a competitive edge on your competitors, they definitely certainly need to call and have that conversation.
Love that. Now, Victoria, you have shared so much of value with our listeners today. If someone's on the fence about joining, what would you say to them?
Look, at the end of the day, it's not a contract. So it's certainly worth, if you're doing something and you're not getting the result that you want within your business, it's possibly time to look at the way that you're doing business and look at alternatives. It's worth that conversation. So, give us a call and have a chat and see if it's a good fit for you. If it is, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm sure a lot of people have got a lot of value. Maybe we've helped inspire some creative ways
Hopefully.
of thinking outside the box. You're such a valuable part of our team, and we love hearing your stories. So make sure you keep tuning in to future episodes where we're going to be hearing from more of the people behind the scenes in Bartercard to give their valuable tips and tricks. So make sure you keep tuning in for future episodes. Take care, everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you for being with us today and sharing your stories and expertise. If you want to find out how Bartercard can help your business, or if you want to be a guest on our future podcasts, contact our team at hello@bartercard.com. Make sure you tune in for our next episode of the Barter Edge.